ప్రేమ స్వరూపులారా,
how do we come into the Lord's focus? How do we get this privilege of allowing Him to enter our heart? We talk of entrance exams, right? We have so many entrance exams. Today, if you want to go and join a first standard or a nursery, they say there's an entrance exam. Of course, it's more for the parents than for the kid. The entrance exam is just to see whether the parents can afford. But when we want the entrance exam, when we want the Lord to enter our heart, we make it so tough for Him, really. We make it so difficult for Him. And not only that, we are not satisfied with one entrance exam. He enters our heart, then we say, okay, one more CIE, continuous internal evaluation, one more slip test, one more mid-semester. We keep on testing Him like that. But the Lord is patient. And He decides to save you. It's that. So how did He enter my life? Our life, I should say. In fact, one of the most wonderful experiences is to go around devotees and ask them, how did you come to Swami? And every story will be so unique. Every story will be so beautiful. The Lord comes in unique ways, and just like only He can be. There are millions of flowers in this world. You see, every single flower is unique. Just like that, when the Lord enters your life, that the entrance itself is a beautiful experience. But it all starts in a very worldly sense, in a difficult way. In fact, when we first came to Swami, it was like this. My father had fallen sick. And this was in the 60s. Having fallen sick, he went to a doctor. We had a family doctor. In those days, we had doctors who could look at you as an individual. Today, you don't have doctors who look at you as an individual. They look at you as a part. There's a ear doctor, an ENT specialist. A ENT specialist who will only look at your left ear. We have that kind of specialization. But in those days, there was family doctors. And these doctors used to be so good. You could go to them for any ailment. And this doctor whom we had, a family doctor, gave my father a mixture. Medicine used to be called a mixture those days. They had huge bottles in which they had some color liquids, fluorescent pink, fluorescent green. And the doctor would write something and give, and there would be somebody to dispense, a compounder. And this compounder would mix it and give the medicine. Now, the beauty of that medicine was, once you drank it, you would never want to fall sick again. It would be so bitter that you would say, no, even if you have fever, you will say, no, I think I don't have fever. It used to be so bitter. So the compounder gave the medicine. My father drank that for 3 days. And after 3 days, he was fine. A week later, again he got temperature, went to the doctor. The doctor gave some other medicine, some other combination. And this happened for 2-3 more times. Now, in those days, the doctors used to be very humble. Now, this doctor looked at my father and said, look, this is something beyond me. I think I should refer you to a friend of mine who has started an institute called Silver Jubilee Institute. So you just go to him, let him examine you. So the doctor examined my father and said, we will have to send a tissue for biopsy. So there was a procedure. Tissue was sent for biopsy. At that time, we didn't understand that everything that happens in a very, very beautiful way. When you put the pieces together later on, then you understand what it is. We didn't understand what the Silver Jubilee Institute was all about. We only knew that the doctor had inaugurated this on the 25th anniversary of something. When the results came, the doctor called my father and said, you know, I must tell you this, you have cancer. In those days, telling you had cancer was almost like telling, pack your bags, one-way ticket. It was like saying, call your relatives. And so my father became very scared. And the doctor said, you have only a few more days to live. A doctor goes to a patient and says, I have good news and bad news. Which do you want to listen? The patient says, okay, sir, I am already suffering. Give me the good news. The doctor says, you have 3 weeks to live. Oh my God, if that is the good news, what's the bad news? I should have told this 2 weeks back. So that is how it is these days. So the doctor told my father, Mr. Tyagarajan, you have a few more days to live. But don't worry, I have a friend of mine who has opened a nursing home. It was called Surgical Nursing Home. He is just returned from England. He is an FRCS, a very brilliant surgeon, and he's up to date with the latest techniques. So he should be able to handle this. So you go and meet Dr. Kalappa. So my father went and met this gentleman, a bright young man, all of 35 years, and a very pleasant person. My father talked to him, and the doctor said, oh, don't worry. I will cure you. I'll just do a procedure. They don't tell you operation because operation is scary. So procedure, and it will be over in a few days. So my father said, okay. He got admitted, and the doctor did the operation. Father came back home. And after coming back home, after a week, he had to go for a review. When he went, the doctor said, I think you must come back next week again. So when he went the next week, the doctor said, you know something, the first operation has not worked so well. We'll have to have one more operation. So father said, okay. I mean, you don't have a choice, right? So he said, okay. So my father went again and got admitted, got operated. Now this wonderful surgeon, he was the best surgeon in Bangalore. Another way of saying, he's the costliest surgeon in Bangalore, okay. So he did the operation, and father returned back to home. A month later, again, he had to be admitted and the operation done. And the doctor was all confidence. He said, no problem. It's only when you have problem, you say no problem. Did you notice that? When somebody has problem, you say, don't worry, there's no problem. Means he has a problem. So the doctor said, no problem. I know there are a few doctors whom I know here. Without meaning any offense, there is a Subhashitani in Sanskrit which talks about doctors. This must be almost 1,000 years old, the Subhashitani, which correctly depicts the situation in today's world. I don't know if it was like that time. It is prophetic though. It says, Namaste astu vaidyaha yamarajasya sahodaraha. Namaskar to the physician. He is Yama's brother. He is not just a brother, he is an elder brother. Why? Yamaha harati pranam. Yama, poor fellow, does his duty, takes away your life. Vaidyaha harati pranam dananicha. He takes your life and pickpockets you. This is, of course, in a lighter vein. But what I mean to say is, see, when a person goes to the doctor, one side you have the worry of the pain and the suffering. And the second on the second, in this another angle, you have this mental stress whether you can afford, whether after you finish with the operation, you will have a house to live, whether you'll have a scooter to drive, because you may have to sell that to pay the doctor. So this continued. My father had 4 operations, 5 operations, 10 operations. It went on like that, like Sachin Tendulkar score. And it kept on increasing. I remember I was a small boy at that time. All that I could understand was, first my father was staying at home, going to the hospital, getting admitted, and coming back. After some time, it became my father was staying in the hospital and occasionally coming home. It was like that. So 10 operations, 15 operations, 20 operations, 25 operations. Now the doctor was sure that he can't handle this. So he called my sister. My sister was doing her MBBS at that time. He called her and said, I have something to tell you, something which I want to share with you. Your father is in advanced state of cancer. I have tried all that I know, and it's not succeeding. I cannot assure you of anything. He is going to pass away any time now. So why don't you take him home? Let him at least die in the surroundings with all of you children around him, because we didn't have a mother. Let him be with you and let him pass away peacefully. Why should he be in this atmosphere of all this antibiotics and phenyl and all that? So my sister got him discharged and brought him home. You can understand the mental state of this sister of mine, who was the eldest in the family, who was herself a student. She had not completed her studies. I was the youngest. I had just joined school, I think, a couple of years before that. She brought my father home, but went to the college in the afternoon because she had to attend the class. Sitting in a corner, she was very depressed. If father too passes away, who will take care of us? Because he was the only breadwinner in the family. And if he also dies, who will take care of her? That was the agony. And she was so depressed, sitting in one corner, crying, when a classmate of hers came to her and said, Kamakshi, I know what's your problem. But I also know somebody who can cure your father. So come today itself, we'll go. So after the classes, the Bangalore Medical College is just next to City Market, which is a bus stop. So they went, and from there was a direct bus to Whitefield. So they went to Whitefield, had Swami's darshan. And because the buses were not frequent those days, like somebody said, in those days, we had a lot of roads and no buses. Today, we have a lot of buses and no roads in Bangalore. I'm sure it's true in Mumbai also. So, the sister came back home very late. In those days, it was not common for young girls to go out like that and come back late. So, my father asked her, what happened? Why are you late? Then my sister said, Father, I had gone to see somebody. He is God. He will cure you. You come. My father said, what are you speaking? Then she explained to him, see, I went to see somebody called Sai Baba. He lives in a place in a suburb called Whitefield, and he is known to cure a lot of such illnesses. He'll definitely cure you. You come. My father, in a typical fashion in my mother tongue, podi podi idella namba maten, he said. It's typical, like, I don't believe all this nonsense. His logic was, see, I have always been a devotee of God. It is not as if I was agnostic or did not believe in God. I was always a devotee of God. And I have always been honest and sincere with my work. So if that God whom I have worshipped all these years is not going to save me, do you think this new Sai Baba is going to save me? No, no, I don't believe all this. And my sister tried her best. Father wouldn't budge. He said, no, no, my time has come. Leave me. But when God decides to save you, He decides to save you, that's all. It's not because of any good things we have done, merit we have done, not because of some achievement of ours that He is going to save us. He is going to save us because He is mercy incarnate. He has decided to save us, that's all. That's why in Lalita Sahasranamam, there is a beautiful phrase, Sarvagnya Sandra Karuna. Compassion, causeless compassion it is. The compassion is not because of some cause, some achievement, some tapas you have done or something. So, a week later, a letter comes from my father's office. He was working in a central government agency. And the doctor says, the letter says, please come to the office personally. You have not come for 6 months, so we don't know whether the salary is really going to you. So physically you have to appear and take the salary. My father was in a terrible plight. He was struggling, but at the same time he could not avoid going because salary had to be taken. So he went, traveled about 35 kilometers, caught 3 buses and went to that place. And when he went there, the director who was from Delhi called him, spoke to him and said, how are you now, Tyagaraj, and all that. And my father told him, the doctors have said that any minute I will die. Then the director said, you know, how did you come? I came by bus, sir. I had to catch 3 buses and come. Okay, do this. You know, there is a professor who has come from abroad who wants to see somebody called Sai Baba. I don't know Bangalore much. Since you know Bangalore very well, take this person with you. It seems it's in a place called Whitefield that Sai Baba resides. Take him to that place, let him look at him, and then on the way back, the car can drop you at home. What a bait. You might tell your daughter, I don't believe all this nonsense. Can you tell your boss? You can't tell your boss. And as they say, it is a 2-in-1 offer. You can't refuse the boss, and the boss is saying the car will drop you at home. Wow, that is another attractive offer. So father said, okay. So from there, they went to Whitefield. They had absolutely no idea of Swami, darshan timing, nothing. So as they entered the gates of Vrindavan, they found that Swami was returning after darshan. He was going through the inner gates. My father had told my sister, I don't believe all this nonsense and all that. But when the Sai Baba name came back into the conversation, somehow something, stirred in his heart. They say a dead man clutches at a straw. The slightest hope you get, you want to hang on to it. So he was happy, but he saw Swami going away from him. He said, there, my hopes are receding. At that time, Vrindavan was full of trees, very beautiful place. And this other professor who had come said, it is so peaceful here, we have come so far, let's sit down here for some time. And one of the volunteers came to him and said, Baba comes for darshan only in the evening after 5. So you can go and come back in the evening. They said, we will sit for a few minutes and go. They were just sitting there when suddenly the gates opened and Swami came out. Swami came out straight to where they were sitting, straight. And as he was approaching them, even when he was about 10 feet away, Swami was talking something. So my father immediately looked at the professor. He's the devotee. I don't know him at all. It must be to him. But Swami was talking in an Indian language. Swami is talking in Kannada. Swami is asking, why did you have 25 operations? Now my father knew it must be him only. The doctor is saying that you will die because of cancer, isn't it? No, your cancer is cancelled. Swami said, created prasadam and gave it to him. And my father was so thrilled that he knew somebody telling, for the first time he's come, and Baba walks straight to him and says, your cancer is cancelled. How does he know I have cancer? How does he know I underwent 25 operations? If he knows this much, he must be powerful enough to cure me. See, that was the faith. And Swami blessed him and returned back. And returned to the mandir. My father came home, he told all of us, and we were all jubilant. 1 week later, he had gained enough strength to go back to office. And he was completely cured of cancer. He went back to work and he continued his work. In fact, he retired in that job. He came to Swami. He became a Samiti convener. He came to Swami one day for an interview with many people, to Prashanthi Nilayam. And Swami looked at them and said, tomorrow I'll talk to you. Now the next day happened to be my father's retirement day. So my father said, if Swami has told he's talking to me, I'll be there. And so he stayed there. Swami called them for interview. He looked at my father and said, what are you doing now? My father said, Swami, I'm supposed to retire today. The government has asked me to go on a deputation to Iran. Swami said, no, times are not good there. Don't go now. I will give you a job. And so Swami took him to Vrindavan in the Sanatan Sati press. My father joined in the press. He worked there. When the press shifted to Prashanthi Nilayam, my father also shifted. He stayed there and he lived. And when he passed away because of old age. How old was he? He was 89 years when he died. Swami had not only cured him, Swami had extended his life by 39 years. Some years back, I had gone to England. I was speaking in Cardiff to a group of surgeons. When I finished speaking, one of them came to me and said, you know what a miracle this is, Ravi Kumar. You know what a fantastic thing. You know, I have been a surgeon for many years, for almost 2.5 decades. He said, when we try to prolong a person's life, a cancer patient's life by a month or a couple of months, we think it's a great achievement. And Swami cured your father without any chemotherapy or anything like that, and gave him a lease of life of 39 years, which is possible only for God.
My